Hey guys, it's Winans. Thanks for joining me tonight. I know it's going to be a couple minutes till we get everybody in here, but I'm going to get started because I know there are a lot of you with plenty of things to do. And I am going to record this so that we can send it out as needed. All right, let me share my screen and we will get started. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about the 6 steps to success, developing a marketing plan that actually delivers results. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I have any authority to get to talk about this topic? Well, I will tell you that I have had the great luck of being married to a dentist for the past closing in on 30 years. I met him in his first year of dental school. And like a good wife, I started doing all of the marketing for his practice. It became successful and was actually asked to start doing this for a lot of other dental practices. So 22 years ago, I started my agency, Golden Proportions Marketing. And as you can see, we've grown over time. This isn't even the whole team. We've got a bunch of new people that need to get added in here. But we have a full service team who is doing everything to help grow practices, from SEO, building websites, social media, paid search, developing brands, you name it, we do it. All right, so tonight I want to walk you through a 6-step process for how to actually grow your practice successfully for next year. The first step to any bit of success starts with your goals. If you don't understand what your goals are, then you're going to have no idea how to get to where you're going. So we start with goal setting and determining your baseline metrics, and then I'm going to take you through from there. Goals have to be SMART. SMART goals specifically mean that they are specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. So for example, we don't want to just have generic goals like I want more new patients. We want to be smart about it. Let's see what that looks like. So I like to think of SMART goals kind of like, honestly, losing weight. We don't want to just jump on the scale and say, I want to lose some weight. We have a specific goal in mind. I want to weigh a certain amount of weight, or I want to lose this number of pounds. Well, your marketing goals are really no different. So here would be some examples of very vague goals. For example, I want more new patients. Well, don't we all? Or I want patients to accept more treatment. Absolutely. Or maybe it's even, I want more Invisalign cases. These are great goals, but they're not strong enough yet. So let's talk about how we can actually strengthen them. An example of a SMART goal, instead of just, I want more new patients, would be, I want to average at least 30 new patients a month by the last quarter of 2023. So you see how that's SMART. It is specific, 30 new patients a month. It is measurable. We can count if we've hit that 30 or not. It is definitely achievable. It's realistic, and it's time-bound because we know exactly when we want to accomplish this by. For example, instead of saying, I just want patients to accept more treatment, I would be specific and say your goal is to close 50% of the treatment that you diagnose in 2023, or whatever that number is that you're trying to get to. Or instead of just saying, I want more Invisalign cases, maybe your goal is to start 25 new Invisalign cases by the end of the year. Now, you set all these goals, and goals are great, but unless you have something to base them in, specifically your baseline metrics, really don't know if they are truly achievable or not. With your goals, here's how I would like you to kind of go back and gut check these. If your original goal was, I want to average 30 new patients a month by the last quarter of 2023, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, how many new patients a month are you averaging in 2022? So if you're only getting 10 and you want to jump to 30, then you're going to say, okay, am I willing to put in the work to be a little more aggressive with my marketing to hit that target in time? And if not, that's fine. You might want to adjust your goal, but you've got to do that benchmark to see if it's realistic. Let's take another example. Maybe your goal is you want to start 25 new Invisalign cases by the end of the year. So the first question you need to go in is look at your practice management software and say, how many Invisalign cases did you close and start in 2022? One more example in your fantasy versus reality is take a look at these goals. And if you're saying that they feel completely unrealistic, there's a couple of things you can do. You can set a very gradual increase to actually reach your year-end goal, or maybe you're going to dramatically increase your marketing budget. Another thing you can do is say, okay, instead of trying to accomplish 10 marketing goals, maybe you want to go all in on 1 or 2 goals, do them really, really well, and then you move on to the next goal. Or the last thing that I think you can do and do very successfully is if you want your team to participate in this, give them a little incentive, give them a reason to be laser focused on this exact thing that you're all driving towards at the same time. They say teamwork makes the dream work. I completely agree. So we need everybody all in on these goals that you're trying to accomplish. Now, you've figured out your goals, you've looked at your baselines. Now you need a dashboard, because if we're not tracking this in real time, you're never going to get there. The last thing you want to do is get to the end of the year and say, looks like maybe I didn't hit my goals. Oops, too late. We need to be tracking these on a weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly basis. When you set up your dashboard, there's a couple of things to think about. There's something called leading metrics, and then there are lagging metrics. Here's the difference. A leading metric is the thing that actually drives the metric that you're actually looking for. So if your goal is new patient calls, for example, from your website, a leading metric is number of new website visitors. If you don't have enough traffic on your website, you're definitely not going to hit the number of new patient calls that you're looking for. So it is really, really important to consider both the leading and the lagging metric when you build your dashboard. You got to document those baselines, figure out exactly where you are as compared to the goals that you're setting so that you can see, is there a good chance of me getting there or not? And then I'm a big believer of bringing your team into this process. Assign one team member to track and document these metrics, whether it's weekly or monthly. Report on them in your monthly or in your morning huddles or in your monthly team meetings, whatever it is. We need some transparency to them because it helps to hold everybody on the team accountable towards moving you towards your goals. I do see a couple of you guys are coming in as we're moving along here. Don't worry, we're recording all of this. We'll send it out to you. So if you missed the beginning, no worries, you can go back and see it once we mail that out to you. All right, now the second step in your 6 steps to success is budgeting. You have got to know how much money it's going to take to actually get you there. I have a couple of guidelines for you. I always get asked, how much is this actually going to cost? So when I have a practice who's doing really, really well, maybe the doctor's kind of, midway through their career, they've got 1,200 to 1,500 active patients in the practice. They're kind of on what I call cruise control, and they just want to replace the patients who have moved or died. And you might think if you're one of these cruise control doctors that you don't actually really need to do any marketing. But let me give you an example. The average community in the United States, 8% of the population is going to move every single year. And then another 1% of the population is going to die. So every year, even if you're doing the best job in the world at retaining your patients, about roughly 9%, 10% of your practice is going to need to be replaced every single year just out of natural attrition, things that you can't otherwise control. So for those, I think you need to be roughly around 2 to 3% of your gross collections. That's the budget you're going to need to put in place in order to keep that cruise control going. Now, let's say you're a practice who's really looking for steady, consistent growth. Maybe you're not looking to triple your new patient numbers this year, but you want to grow a little bit more every single year. And maybe you're looking to go from, say, 20 to 30 new patients. For those, I'd be saying 3 to 5%, and you're looking to kind of continually grow those numbers, not just remain steady. 3 to 5% of your collections should be enough to get you there. Now, keep in mind, all of these are relative. If you're in New York City, the money spends very differently than if you're in central Pennsylvania or in the middle of Ohio or Kansas. And obviously, a $2 million practice, 2 to 3% for them is going to spend very differently than 2 to 3% for a $500,000 practice. So obviously this is all relative, but I want to give you some guidelines. Now, if you're like a lot of the doctors who call us, I had a great doctor I just talked to before this. This is the kind of doctor who I would say wants to strap a rocket to the practice, wants to grow really aggressively, and is ready to invest in it. They're looking at a good 6 to 10%. Another rule for this is if you are actually losing more patients out the back door than you are acquiring every year, for example, if you're losing them because they're trading offices or they're moving or whatever it is, and you can't even replace what has gone missing, you are definitely going to need to be more aggressive. If you've got a scratch or acquisition practice, a 1 year aggressive budget for the first year, and then you can kind of level off into probably that 3 to 5%, depending on how you're doing. So aggressive is going to depend on the market that you live in. And depending on how expensive it is and how much competition you've got, that aggressive budget is going to vary by practice. But we like to really go in and see what the market looks like to make sure we're giving you good, solid numbers. If you're one of the emerging DSOs, love working with emerging DSOs, one of my favorites to work with. Anybody who's kind of like in that, 3 to 20 practice locations. If you're all in one market and all of these locations are under the exact same brand, for those, I think you can get away with a good solid 5% because you're going to have economy of scale simply by the fact that all of them are operating under the same brand. So one message reaches a lot more people and you're going to spend your money smarter. Now, there's a couple of places where your money's actually going to go. Let's talk about this. There's typically 3 different buckets. The first bucket is what I call your foundational assets. And these are things like one-time development fees. So like if you are a brand new scratch practice, you're going to need a logo. You're going to need some branding for your office. If you are an existing practice, you're probably going to need a new website every 3 to 4 years. Unfortunately, that's the way the world of the web has gone. Google keeps changing those standards, so we got to stay up to date. If you're setting up a paid search campaign, your landing pages are kind of a one-time fee. Or if you're creating postcards or commercials, or you're setting up a referral program, all of this is typically a one-time setup fee. They're foundational assets. Once you built them, with the exception of the website, every 3 to 4 years, you're pretty much good. You're not going to have to change them that often. The second bucket where your money is going to go is media and subscriptions. This is the money that goes right out the door from your agency into the hands of Google and Facebook and Instagram and your local advertising channels, your radio, television. It could also be subscriptions, things like your review software or your online scheduling software. These are recurring fees every single month. You're going to kind of have to pay for them to have that visibility in the digital world. These are ones that don't tend to go away. If anything, I will tell you that these are always going to increase a little bit just because they're subject to inflation like anybody else. So you need to keep a good solid percent of your budget. Typically about 30-35% of your budget needs to go towards your media and subscription costs. And then the final bucket is for your marketing management. This is for the company or the freelancer or whoever you're working with who's going to do your strategic planning. It might be for things like someone doing your call tracking and screening, your search engine optimization. These are the people that are managing the marketing that you're doing to make sure it's incredibly effective. Some of these things doctors do on their own in the office. For example, organic social media, that's great. I also know doctors who source this out. There's plenty of good firms, ourselves included, who do good organic social media. So not all of your marketing management has to go to an agency, but if you're actually going to engage in these things in the middle, the media and subscriptions, you want to pay a true expert to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck. Step 3 are your strategies and tactics, and this is where all the fun stuff comes in. Now, when you are developing your marketing strategy, I want you to think about the marketing funnel. Oh, I do see that we have a question here, so I'm going to see if I can. Nope, looks like I'm going to have to hold that question till the end. Apologies, once I am in presentation mode, my mouse doesn't want to work, but I will get to you at the end, I promise. So developing your marketing strategy, this funnel is important. This marketing funnel is something that's used. It doesn't matter if you're BMW or Coca-Cola or Adidas, every big company and dental practice should be following the marketing funnel. And it goes through a couple of stages. This one's a little bit tweaked specific to dental practices. It starts with your brand awareness. Then it moves to your lead generation and your lead conversion, then your patient experience, and ultimately retention of those patients, and then making those patients become advocates for your brand. Now, here is the rub. Almost every doctor I talk to wants to jump ahead. Everybody wants to go to lead generation because that's about making the phone ring. And that's really what we all think marketing is about. But let me put it to you this way. Let's say that you have spent a great deal of money building a beautiful website, making sure that your SEO gets it at the top of the search engines, or maybe you're paying for Google ads so that you can be right up at the top. So when somebody types in dentist near me, cosmetic dentist near me, and you've put in that work and you're up at the top, well, they have a couple of options. And so that consumer is scanning the list to see, who do I know on here? And that who do I know on here, that comes from your brand awareness. None of us want to be a guinea pig. We don't want to be the one to test out the untested thing. So if they've never heard of your name, they are much more likely to go with the brand or the practice that they've heard of before, whether it's just seeing your name around town or having heard about you from someone else that they work with, for example. So you might put in all that work, and if you do not have the proper brand awareness, all of that energy is going to be for naught, because people want to know who you are before they decide to engage with what you do. So beware jumping right to that lead generation. That brand awareness is one of these steps that's absolutely critical. Here's what you can do to make sure that you've got really strong brand awareness. Your logo, your signage, community events, networking, and social media are all excellent channels for brand awareness. There's other things that you can do. I'm going to give you a couple of examples, but this brand awareness, once you've got a really strong brand message, being able to communicate this on a strong local level is everything. Let's talk about that logo. A memorable logo is something that is very unique, easy to scale. And when I say scale, I mean really small and really, really large. It should use colors that convey the message that you're trying to get across to prospective patients. And ideally, it's a logo that is really long lasting and not trendy at all. Now, here is an example of what I would say is not a unique, memorable logo. I literally just looked up tooth logo, and there are hundreds of tooth logos out there. Some of them are literally stock graphic art that you can buy. This is why Nike's logo is not a shoe. It is a swoosh, because it is representing their brand and what that means. So if you've got a tooth logo, you're going to have to come up with some other way to really distinguish your practice from the rest of the competition that's out there. Here would be a great example of logos that are easy to scale in size. You can see what these are going to look like blown up and then shrunk down. They're also memorable, and they're very unique to a practice. There's nothing in here that's necessarily a tooth, with the exception of a little bit of the dental practice mechanics, but there's so much more that's going on with this brand. Now, here's what you don't want to do in terms of memorability. So you want your logo to be memorable, but for the right reasons. These are great examples of classic logos that unfortunately somehow got through proofing and quality control. And I will tell you, this first one here in the upper left is one of my favorites. It was actually sent to me by another agency owner. Their client drew it and just made us all giggle. Hopefully everybody is noticing that they are flossing the wrong end of the tooth. All right, I see a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to do a quick thing. I'm going to stop sharing just so I can see what the questions are, because without a moderator, unfortunately, I don't have a way to see them. So bear with me, guys. I'm going to stop the share, and let's see if I can get into your questions really quickly. So first question, do mailers and brochures through snail mail still work? Absolutely, they do. Depending on the practice and the market that you're in, it can be very effective. And it's one of the things I'm going to get to. So if you can hang on for a quick minute, I promise we will talk about direct mail. And then, Seema, let me come back to you in terms of what percentage of marketing goes into each category. If you were asking about from the budgeting perspective, it's probably about 15 to 20% in those foundational assets. a good 35-40% in your media, and then the balance is probably going into your management. So you want as much of your dollars as possible going towards spreading your brand message out there. Hopefully this answers what you're looking for. And how about you and I have a chat afterwards so that I can make sure I get all of your questions answered. All right, so let me keep going back here. I'm going to move this back to present mode. Just do me a favor, make sure that you're not using one of these logos because you're not going to be remembered for all the right reasons. All right, now color. Color is one of these critical things that we don't tend to think about when we're developing our brands. We kind of go with a color that's like something that's maybe the favorite color that we wear or blends with the colors that are in your practice. And that works to an extent, but it's helpful to know what the actual message is. There's these perceived understandings of what a color represents. I know a lot of doctors are careful to avoid using red in a dental logo because they believe that it kind of communicates the idea of blood and pain, but it can actually mean things like passion and energy and excitement and strength or love for what you do. You will see actually the next time you look at some logos, notice that any financial institutions are big in using the color blue. Financial and also educational institutions, because when you're using blue, it conveys a feeling of trust. And when you're dealing with somebody's money, they absolutely want to see that they can trust you. So the colors that are behind brands have been very, very intentional for a long, long time. I would love to learn what you guys are doing with your brand colors. And do you feel like, based on what this is saying, it's actually communicating what you were hoping people to understand about your brand? Now, you've got a great brand. Tell you what, signage is one of the best things that you can do. Signage and a great location. That brand needs to be visible to the community. If you are looking at ever changing your location or you're looking at a scratch practice, I'm going to tell you there is nothing better you can do for your practice than a fantastic location. South Shore Dental Care, the Luminous Smile, client of ours from a couple of years ago. I love this location because they're able to make their brand so prominent. And because it's prominent, they get a significant amount of new patients that come in strictly from being visible to them as they drive by. It's one of the best marketing investments you can ever make, because if you are in an area where people are not really, your practice is not visible to them, you're going to be reliant on paying for media exposure for the life of your practice. Now, getting personal in terms of your brand awareness, anything that you can do to connect with your community. I truly believe you're going to want to participate in community events. Get out, see and be seen, go to fundraisers. Don't just donate something to a fundraiser, actively show up, go up with your spouse. Even if you don't live in this community, show people that you care about the community that you are serving. A great example of that is joining a BNI chapter. BNI is Business Networking International, great organization where they'll only take one business from each type. So you might have one chiropractor, one dentist, one optometrist, one dry cleaner, one financial advisor, and they all get to know each other and they make a commitment to network and refer people to each other. If you have a membership plan, I was talking about this with everybody last night. Membership plans are great for local marketing and brand awareness, going to local small business owners. And this is one of these overlooked things, local university health services and ERs. Great example. So my husband, until he stopped practicing just about 2 years ago, we're in a university town. And so he is on the list of referral sources with the university, so that when college students have a need for dental care away from home, he's the one that's being referred to. And it doesn't take that much to build a relationship with somebody in the health center to get on that list. You'd be amazed how many patients you'll get from something that simple, because you are being local and you're getting your brand visibility. Now, social media. We all love social media. I'm not going to get too deep in social tonight. It's something we do a lot of, and I'll do separate webinars on social. But if you want brand awareness, organic social media and getting social with your patients is the way to go. This is how you express your personality and your brand message We all know they have got the phone in the chair, in their hands 24/7. So you might as well lean in for a picture with them, get them to tag you, share it on their social channels, and you can share it as well. This is Dr. Peter March. Peter does a fantastic job, he and his team, with social media, not just engaging with their patients, but also showing what the team is doing behind the scenes. So whether they're doing social activities or fundraisers, or they're just celebrating a team member's birthday, or they're showing something fun that's happening with a patient, for example, like this one in the middle, I love my dentist. This is he gets incredible engagement on social media. All right, now let's talk lead generation. This is the next part of the funnel, the part that we all want to jump to. And it all starts with our favorite thing, our website. Pardon me. We're going to talk about websites. We're also going to talk about your search engine optimization and CRO, which stands for your conversion rate optimization. Your Google ads and your social media ads, incredible channels to bring new patients in. And then sometimes we forget about traditional advertising, but you did ask about direct mail, so we're going to tackle it in here. You are judged by your website. There are plenty of template websites out there. The problem is there are 200,000 dental practices, and there are 30 and 40,000 clients at a lot of these template companies. You're going to find your website is used nearly identically by someone who's frankly potentially right down the street. So I'm not a big fan of template websites, if only for the fact that you're not really communicating who you are and what you do that is unique from every other dentist in town. Instead, do you have a website that communicates what you are doing for your patients and why they love you? I Smile Dental Care, their I love, I live, everything is a huge part of their brand, and that is evident throughout everything on their website. Dr. Heidi Brandenburg, where your smile is treated to perfection, that message is evident throughout her entire site versus being a generic message that pretty much anybody could do. Now, I get asked on occasion, is SEO dead? Well, I tell you what, as long as there is search, you're going to need search engine optimization. Unless you are only paying for Google ads and that's all you're willing to look at as advertising for the rest of your life, as a searcher, you're looking for information. So that means that everybody else is too. So you need a little SEO. There's 4 key types of search engine optimization. I'm not going to go too deep in these, but the first one is on-page SEO. These are your title tags, header tags. There's technical SEO. This is where you really need an agency who's going to get in deep for you, because they're dealing with things like disavowing toxic backlinks. They're fixing your broken links. They're doing schema markup. They're making sure you have your robots.txt, all sorts of technical things that, unless you went to school for this, this is probably not something you or your team are going to want to spend a lot of time on. Also part of SEO is link building. They're looking for third-party credibility. So other websites that are linking back to your site. It can be one of those great reasons, for example, to buy Best Dentist issues in a local magazine, because often you're going to get a great link on the Best Dentist page of that local publication linking back to your site. And then finally, local SEO. So local SEO is all about things like your reviews, making sure that your name, address, and phone are consistent on your Google My Business listing, your Bing listing, your Yelp listing, Facebook, that you're using the right categories. So all of these things work together. You can't just do one thing. You need something that works on all of these contexts in order to bring your website up to the top of the search engines. Google Ads, let's touch base on this. Why are Google Ads important? Well, I did a very basic search, cosmetic dentist in Washington, D.C. This is a screen cap of exactly what my screen saw. And the only thing that it saw was ads. Ads, and then it saw a local map. And way down below that are your local listings. Now, in a competitive area like this, ranking when it comes to SEO is going to be close to impossible. It's the rare practice, unless they've been out for many, many, many years and doing SEO for the past 2 decades, that's going to rank at the top, for example, cosmetic dentist in Washington. So it's more about being geo-targeted or using things like these Google Ads in order to rank competitively. If you are doing Google Ads, the nice thing about them is you're not just going after somebody who is just looking to buy your service. It actually increases your brand awareness, which you guys know how important that is, by as much as 80%. And if someone is clicking on your paid search ad, they are engaged, they're ready. They're already 50% more likely to buy than someone who is searching for you organically. And this is because 80% of search is just somebody looking for information. They're doing their homework, their research, they're reading your blogs, they're trying to find an answer to a question they have. But when they're clicking on a paid search ad, they are ready to do business now. They have finished doing all of their informational search. They've moved into the transactional search process. Social media advertising, this is critical. You kind of absolutely have to have social media advertising, and here's why. This is a great study. So about 30 to 40% of our daily communication on social media, or our daily communication with our friends and family members, is about ourselves. But on social, about 80% of what we post is about ourselves. So because there's not necessarily somebody engaging in conversation with us on social, we're putting up things about ourselves because we want that feedback. We're looking for that engagement. There was a Harvard study where participants were given the choice of actually talking about themselves or listening to other people judge their thoughts. This was brilliant, and MRI actually showed that the act of self-disclosure lights up areas of the brain that were associated with some of our favorite activities as humans, eating and sex. So literally just us saying something about ourselves on social media is giving us a dopamine reward that makes us want to do it more and more and more often. So this is why your audience is spending so much time on social media and why you need to advertise there. As a matter of fact, the participants' pleasure centers lit up more when they were told they had an audience, which is exactly what happens on social media. We're creating an audience, people who are friends and followers of us. And then finally, the participants enjoyed sharing about themselves so much, they were willing to give up cash money in order to keep talking about themselves. Your audience loves social media because we are rewarding positive, pleasurable behavior. So if you are advertising on social media, you are capturing them when they are ready to be there. They want to be there. They spend an extraordinary amount of time on social media. You might as well be putting your brand in front of them. Digital can be a highly competitive world. So if you're in an incredibly saturated market, maybe Google Ads are just far too expensive. If you're in New York City, I know, for example, keywords related to dental implants can be running $30 a click. It can be incredibly expensive. So there can actually be a case for kind of going back to traditional advertising. Direct mail advertising absolutely works in the right market with the right message and the right target. And we can have a separate conversation about direct mail, but direct mail is some of the things that really make it work that are going to be surprising to you. About 60% of your success on direct mail actually has to do with your list. It has nothing else to do but just the people whose mailboxes you are landing in. 30% of your success comes with whatever offer you're putting on your direct mail. And then finally, only 10% of your success and your response rate comes from what the design is and what the message is. So we tend to think of it as, how does this look? How does it portray me? When in reality, we're kind of missing the most important things. Who is our audience and what's an offer that they're going to respond to? Brand awareness can also be accomplished and get people to respond to your advertising using traditional things like, for example, billboards. They're great in a high traffic media market. This was a practice that we had in the New York City area that I loved doing their marketing because we were allowed to be really bold and have pops of color and do something that was going to grab somebody's attention with a great brand message of every dental specialty every day of the week. It really helped them to stand out. This traditional advertising in a very expensive market got them a lot of attention. Now, you spend all this money making the phone ring. You've got to have lead conversion. This lead conversion happens a couple of different ways. Call tracking and conversion training. Conversion training is making sure that your team knows how to have the right conversation with whoever's on the other end of the line. Lead conversion can also happen through using some applications, things like online scheduling, online chat. Lead conversion happens with social proof. I'll show you a few examples. And then things like your custom photography and videography are very, very powerful for getting somebody to listen closely to your message, believe in your authenticity. Let's explore this a little bit. Call tracking. I use call tracking on literally every marketing strategy that we do. It's included for free in every single client, if only because it is so critical. If you can't measure the impact of what leads you're generating and did those actually turn into appointments, well, then why are you bothering to spend that money on your advertising in the first place? Here's an example of a transcript that came from a call. Now, this is probably about 2 years ago, but what I have highlighted, I will tell you, I've hidden the name of the practice, but this is something that happens more times than I can count. Almost every call that is a failed call, it is because you end up hearing the patient say, I was wondering, can I schedule an appointment? You never want your caller to actually have to ask if they can do business with you. You want to be the one leading that conversation and telling them what you want. So instead of waiting for the patient to ask for the sale, simply say, let's do this. Let me put you on the schedule with the doctor for a consultation. I have openings Thursday at 9 a.m. or the following Tuesday at 3 in the afternoon. Which one works better for you? Don't wait for them to ask. Tell them what you want them to do and where you want them to go. But you're not going to have this information if you are not looking at your call conversion through your transcripts or listening to phone calls. Because if you can't measure it, I promise you can't improve it, and you can't get the coaching that you need in order to move your practice to a higher level. If you are not taking calls 24/7, and I do not know a single practice yet who does, this millennial generation, they live on their phones. They want to take care of their business without actually having to have a conversation with somebody. If they're sitting at home on the couch at 9 o'clock at night and they think, you know what, I need to get this chip in my tooth taken care of before there's an upcoming wedding, or I want to get something whitened, or I just need to find a new dentist, they are going to engage with a practice that offers online scheduling because they don't actually have to have a conversation with the front desk. So I'm a big fan of LocalMed. Wish I had thought of it truly, but I recommend LocalMed or some sort of online scheduling for every client that does any kind of lead generation marketing digitally. We want to give people the freedom to engage with your practice in a way that is comfortable for them. A lot of them, that is online scheduling, but it could also be chat. Chat is popular because we prefer chat over email and social media. Here's the reason. The average response time on email is 17 hours. Nobody wants to wait 17 hours to get an answer to their question. The average response time on chat is 2 minutes. There's some great free chat options out there. There are managed chat options in the digital world for dental, but I would have chat on your website if at all possible. I can help you guys come up with some solutions for how to add that to your site and show you how your team can manage it. It doesn't take any extra time out of their day. Lead conversion through your photography and your video. This is so big because it's authenticity. I will tell you, when I look at website analytics, I'm looking at the most popular pages on a site time and time and time again. The pages that are most popular are those where the patients are engaging with the people who are going to take care of them. So the ones where they are looking at the doctor's bios, the team's bios, they want to see an office tour, they want to see videos of the new patient experience. Your service pages about general dentistry, restorative dentistry, implants, Invisalign, they're at the bottom of the list. People know that you do that because you went to dental school, you have a degree, so they're pretty darn sure you know how to do a filling or do a cleaning on them. What they care about most is the people. So if you want to dramatically enhance your conversion, strongly recommend custom photography be used everywhere throughout your website. Retention and reactivation. Why put all this effort into making the phone ring, converting them, if you do not hang on to those patients? Don't let them walk out the back door. Reactivation emails and postcard campaigns. There's some great outreach services, but even just getting people and keeping them engaged with things like email newsletters and birthday videos. So retention, this time of year is a perfect time to send out, whether by email or by postcard. Don't let your dental benefits slip away. Don't waste your dental benefits. People know that they've got basically till the end of the year to use these up. Do something to retain these patients and get them to commit to continuing to work with you, or reactivate patients. I regularly recommend looking at any patient who is at 6 to 18 months since they've had their last appointment with you and they don't have a future appointment scheduled. These are the ones that you're going to lose if you don't engage them. So using postcards, using email, using text messaging campaigns, give them a little incentive to come back to the practice. If you really want to get creative, you can actually even do this with the patients that you haven't seen in a couple of years. Give them a strong motivation to come back, maybe free whitening when they come back in to complete their exam and x-rays. Get them re-engaged, because it is a lot less expensive to keep an existing patient than it is to replace them with a new one. Now, if you do not have time to handle all of your recare, there are 2 services that I strongly recommend. Again, I don't get a dime from these guys. I just really, really believe in them. Callforce, who has since been renamed and their name is escaping me, but I love Callforce. They will actually do outreach for you. And Support DDS. Support DDS is this amazing organization where you are outsourcing your front desk. So it can be everything from handling your call overflow, your recare calls, your insurance verification, whatever it is you need them to do. And because it is outsourced, it is actually through kind of a mission service, and it is very inexpensive, like $12 or $13 an hour when you're paying for a 40-hour employee, significantly less than what you'd pay for in the US. And you're going to get a dedicated employee to helping your front desk. So these are great for helping you with outreach, especially this time of year when you need to get people in, finish up their treatment before their benefits expire. There's a lot of strategies in here. I truly believe that the essence of strategy is choosing what not to do. As a matter of fact, pick 3 of them. Try not to do everything on this list because it gets overwhelming. I would rather you do what I call the stair-step method. Pick 2 or 3 things, do them really well, execute them, make them a natural part of your practice. Then you can step up and do another 2 or 3 things until you are gradually a very well-rounded practice when it comes to your entire plan. Rather you do a little bit and do it well than do too much and not do it well at all. The 4th step in the process are your timelines. Now, your timelines really fall down to the what, the when, and the who. The what is, what are those top 3 strategies? You can't do everything, so picking just a couple. But the when is putting thought in, when do these strategies need to launch if you're going to reach your year-end goals? So if you've set your SMART goals and you need to hit, for example, 30 new patients a month by the last quarter of 2023, you need those strategies to have enough time to work. So work your way backwards and determine when you need to actually launch that strategy to make sure you're hitting that target goal. And then the who. Everybody desires some accountability. If you want it to be successful, somebody has to have ownership of the budget, the decisions, and the timeline for every strategy. And doctors, this doesn't just have to be you. This can be somebody on your team. It can be somebody that you outsource to. It can be a marketing agency that you work with. But somebody has to have the ownership and the accountability. Otherwise, it's never going to get done. You're going to keep postponing it because there's a lot of other things screaming for your attention. 5th step is implementation. Implementation is making the magic happen. So you figured out your goals and your strategies and your timelines and your budget. Now you actually have to put it into action. With implementation, this is basically your countdown to launch. This is a matter of hiring the right agency to work with or determining which team member is going to be creating some of these strategies. And then the actual implementation, doing the work. Now, before you launch any strategy, the number one thing that I would tell you is to tell your team. It's amazing if you've got any lead generation strategy that you're launching, if you have not actually told your team and a new patient calls in and they're inquiring about an offer that might be mentioned, say on a direct mail postcard or in your Google Ads campaign, or they have a question about something on your brand new website. If your team doesn't know that it's launched, they're not going to have an intelligent conversation with that caller and you're going to lose that lead. It seems so simple, but I have to remind people of this all the time. Make sure your team's involved because they want to be part of your success. Sixth step is measuring and adjusting. You have got to measure everything. So this is one of my favorite examples of measurement. How'd you hear about the YMCA? Somebody checks off the village people. It's humorous, but what happens is teams, if we're remembering to ask how to, who can we thank as the referral for the practice, we know what brought you in. If we remember to ask and hopefully write it down, we're often just recording it exactly as the patient told us. I have seen referral sources within a single practice that say Google, internet, website, web-site, web space site, online, all of these varieties that are basically the same thing because we're not creating any consistency in how we are actually measuring things. So this is where that call tracking comes into play. Because I am a nut for measuring everything, probably about coming up on 7 years ago, I had our team, I led the initiative, I'm not the programmer, but we built Smart Market Dental. And Smart Market Dental is this incredible tool that combines both the call tracking, artificial intelligence that is categorizing the result of every single call, and then it's automatically tying every lead back to a new patient record so that you can see the financial impact of the money that you're spending on for your marketing. This is an example of a real practice. I did not make this one up. I can't reveal what the practice name is, but this marketing was so effective in terms of the calls and the new patient appointments and the resulting revenue that came out of it. They were looking at a cost per lead of a little over $7, a cost per new patient of around $27, and a return on investment of almost 46 to 1. That is a bet I would take all day long. If only the stock market could give me that kind of predictability in that measurement, because I don't know about you guys, but I've been underwater for a little while. It's coming back out, thankfully. But all of that return on investment lets you see where to stop spending money on things that aren't actually working and where to reinvest in the things that are blowing it out of the water. So if I'm seeing an ROI of 46 to 1, I'm going to drop the things that are doing mediocre and I'm going to keep reinvesting in what is working really, really well. Smart Market Dental, my favorite tool that we have ever created. Again, it's got the call tracking, the real-time artificial intelligence call categorization. You can see how your team members are doing. It's going to extract your team member names and give you reports for each team member and their ability to convert these leads. It gives you complete transparency on all of the marketing investment that you're making. And you can actually even see what we call multi-attribution return on investment. So you can see that halo effect of a couple of different channels that are influencing the patient's ultimate decision to pick up the phone or schedule online or chat you and become a patient in your practice. Because if you can't see the results, it's not worth investing the money. Now, this final part of measurement is that the dashboard is the thing that decides what you're going to do. If you are documenting your results, whether you're doing it by hand or you're using a tool like Smart Market or anything else, you're documenting that. You review that about once a month. As I mentioned, call tracking should be used on every single strategy. And you need to give every strategy at least a quarter to work. So a good full 3 months, because you want to make your changes based on trends, not on spikes. We all know, for example, that there's Sucktember out there. We all know how bad September can be. So it can make you want to change your marketing. But if you are looking at long-term trends, you might realize that is just September. That's one weird month. The rest of the year is pretty solid. I don't need to change the strategy. Or if you see a couple of months in a row where it's not performing the way that it should be, Then you can pivot. You can make some changes that are intelligent, smart changes, not panic decisions. This is why a plan is so important, because you're coming up on 2023. It is roaring. I mean, we are like less than 6 weeks away from 2023, which is hard to believe. Having a great plan for next year means you're going to even out those high months and low months. I mean, we all love the high months, but boy, those low months, they're not fun. So we want nice, steady, predictable revenue. We want a predictable schedule. The last thing that we want is we do not want this open schedule. I'm hearing this more and more often, especially as inflation has hit. There's more openings in hygiene schedules. If you've got a strong marketing plan, it's going to help you to even that out. It's also going to eliminate things like really volatile months for collections and how much money you get to take home as the business owner. It's going to stop you from wasting time and money. It's going to stop you from chasing the shiny object, and it's going to stop your practice from being stagnant. You need growth, but you need a plan to get there. So you get this whole 6-step plan together, but we're still missing something. This is what I call the secret sauce. You have got to have a unique, memorable brand message. This is kind of like the why am I going to have a tooth logo versus something that really identifies who I am. Let me tell you how we do this, because it's a pretty cool process. I'm very excited about this. When we're onboarding a new practice, these are the questions that we ask everybody, because we've got to find out a way that makes you unique and different. So we'll ask things like, what differentiates your practice from the competition? What makes you unique? What do patients like most about your service? What do you do that nobody else does? And here's the answers that I get invariably. And I have literally interviewed thousands of doctors. These are pretty much the same answers. I'm friendly. My team is super nice. I've been told that I am very gentle, or we do almost everything in-house, or my favorite, I have really small hands. Unfortunately, guys, I hate to tell you, this is not the thing that is going to set your practice apart and make somebody come to see you. These are answers that put me to sleep. And unfortunately, these very bland answers means that nobody knows why they should come to you. And this is why they buy on price. This is why they buy on insurance participation, because I should expect that you're gentle and that your team is nice and that you do most of my care in-house. That's a given. That is not the thing that distinguishes you. So I knew I was struggling with this. I knew there had to be a better way. How were we going to communicate this message that is unique and different about each and every practice? Because we work with hundreds and hundreds of dental practices, thousands over the years, and you all do relatively similar things. So I'm a scientist at heart, kind of a mathematician geek, and I did what I do best. I dug into the learning. I watched webinars and I listened to podcasts and I read books and I talked to multiple other agency owners that I'm affiliated with and said, what are you guys doing to really help understand the unique differentiating message of any business that you're working with? And the problem is they all came back with the same answer. They were struggling as much as I was. So it was kind of killing me. And one night I was laying in bed and just tossing this problem over in my mind. And I kind of thought, okay, when you're stuck on something, you got to think about it in an opposite direction. So instead of thinking about what makes a practice unique, I said, okay, I'm going to think about what makes everybody similar. What's the one thing that we all have in common? And that was when the lightning struck. Every single human being on this planet looks different, but we do have one thing in common, and it's our DNA. We are all made up of the exact same core building blocks. The DNA makes us who we are, but out of that DNA comes different colored hair, different colored eyes, different personalities, different opinions. Our voices sound different. We have different artistic talents and desires and professions and the way that we love. All of this still comes from the same core building blocks, our DNA. And that is when I absolutely knew I had it. This is the secret to really effective dental marketing. So my team went in and we dug in really, really deep, and we came up with this incredible set of very proprietary discovery questions, questions that help us get to the root of who you are, what you want to be, where you want to go, and what truly makes you unique, and what are we going to need to do to get you there. This process has been absolutely transformational for the practices that we work with. Let me break it down for you. So the D in DNA is your direction. It looks at where is your practice right now? What are your short-term SMART goals? Often those are hard to differentiate or to really articulate. So we work with you and your team to determine exactly what it is you want to accomplish. Then we'll look at where are you losing patients? There's people that are going out the back door. It's inevitable. It happens. And then what is your vision for the practice? Where do you want this practice to go? Maybe in 5, 10 years. We need to know that vision to have your direction so that the marketing and the message gets you there. It could be something as simple as opening an additional office as part of your direction, or maybe you want to hire more associates. Maybe part of your direction is you want to sell your practice or retire early. There's a lot of different ways to determine your direction. They're really unique to each practice, which is also part of why I'm not a big fan of cookie cutter marketing, because you all have different goals and different things that you want to accomplish. Now, the N in your DNA are your needs. What marketing solutions are necessary to make sure these goals and aspirations are met? How do we make these a reality? For example, it could be something as simple as more prominent signage. It could be social media advertising or a new website. It could be lead generation through paid search or SEO, or more brand awareness with your billboard. There could be any number of solutions that are going to address the needs that the practice has. And then finally, the A in the DNA are your attributes. The attributes are that thing that make you, your brand personality, your likes and dislikes, determining, are you an educator? Are you someone who's charming? Are you funny? Do you tell stories with your patients? Figuring out those attributes and being able to communicate it in your brand message is one of those key ways to make you stand out. So we ask these crazy questions. They always sound so crazy to our clients, but I tell you what, they help us figure out that core. They really get down to the root of the DNA, and we determine, are you fun or colorful or elegant or modern or authoritative or whatever it is. We put all of that together and come up with your unique practice marketing DNA. I love this process. It's been absolutely just incredible for us. It's one really unique process. Nobody else out there is doing it. But what I love about it is giving us completely limitless, unique results. So no longer is a dentist a dentist a dentist. Instead, every dentist is unique. They have their own brand, their own message, their own thing that makes them stand out in the world. So I just want to leave you with one question, and then we'll go to the questions that you guys have. My question for you is, do you want to have the same generic marketing as everybody else when you're doing your plan for 2023? Or do you want to stand out with a plan and a brand that is uniquely your own? So I would love to have an opportunity to talk to any of you guys. Just scan this QR code here on the left with your phone, or you can go directly to goldenproportions.com, go to our contact page, and you can schedule a completely free marketing breakthrough call with Erica. Erica will find out what it is that you need to make sure that we can help you, and then we'll get you in with a strategist to really put your plan together for 2023 so that you're going into the new year strong. So thank you guys for listening. Again, I'm Xana Winans. I'm the founder and CEO of Golden Proportions Marketing. Here's our contact information, but I'm going to take a quick pause now, stop sharing, see if I can answer your questions. And I would love to have a conversation with you. So I hope to hear from all of you soon. All right, let's see what other questions we've got. And all right, in the Q&A, so anonymous attendee says, I was told to stay away from Yelp because only complainers, and excuse my French, crybabies are on Yelp and post negative comments. Yes and no. So Yelp can be a necessary evil when it is in a major city. If you're in a rural urban area, I promise you, nobody gives a hoot about Yelp. They're going onto Google and they're reading the reviews there. You do tend to get more complainers on Yelp. And the challenge is that no matter how good your reviews are, Yelp is going to want to bury your good reviews, because even though they say they don't, I've seen this a million times, they want you to pay for advertising. And when you pay for advertising, even a small package, all of a sudden your positive reviews are going to magically reappear. They will tell you that some of these positive reviews have been hidden or they're not recommended because the person who wrote them doesn't have a big following or isn't a big Yelper. But honestly, I've seen people who write a single review and it's a negative review, and that one shows where you have a strong Yelper review that's positive, and they'll keep it kind of hidden. They do use it as an avenue, kind of a bait and switch, so to speak, in order to get you to advertise with them. So if you're in a major urban area, Yelp can be helpful. It's good to get your patients to write reviews on Yelp, but I would not see it as kind of a primary advertising source for you. So hopefully that answers that question. If not, let me know. And then Seema, I heard chat slows the website. Depends on whose chat application. So there are definitely some chat apps who can slow down the website. If it is a managed chat app or something that has some automated responses, it can make it a little bit slower. But if you're working with a group who really knows how to handle chat and SEO, it can be an easy thing to implement on your site, and it's not going to slow you down. If it does, it's going to be pretty infinitesimal. We have chat on our site. If I knew it was slowing us down, trust me, we wouldn't have it. So it's really about how you implement it. And then I want to make sure, did I get all of the questions? So we asked about the mailers, percentage of marketing in each category. I think I covered it all. So if you guys have any other questions, please type them in real quick. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you for your time tonight. And if you didn't catch this live, the recording is going to go out. Please drop me an email, Xana@goldenproportions.com. That's Xana. If you can't tell, there's a few X's behind me. I'm a collector. And I would love to chat with you guys about how to make you more successful in 2023. Thanks so much. Have a great night.